I'm just not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. It's the most overrated player
And there you
I've
are, the Chicago Bears with a championship
season
defense.
And Mitch, I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back.
If you thought you were going to get Zion, that's your bad.
You are now listening to Open Season. Your host, Billy Allen.
All right. Welcome. We got a little show here on Tuesdays. Open Season is the name. Billy Allen is your host. And before we introduce everybody else and get into things here, Nick Markakis says that every Astro needs a beating. Do you agree? Red Sox are lying to us again, lying like a rug. And even worse, looks like they're trying to get Will Myers. I thought that was part of the whole salary dump. Tom Brady, we're still talking about his destination. And Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph, they're going back and forth. Who do you believe? Do you think Joe Burrow should duck the Bengals, pull an Eli 2.0? We're also talking about the NBA All-Star Game, one of the best in a while. And the Bruins, they've got some decisions to make here at the trade deadline, looking strong, but are they going to strengthen themselves up here? As we get into it with the Red Sox, and as we intro Justin Allain, who sat in last week. Justin, how's it going?
What's up?
Not too much. I mean, I feel like the Red Sox, they haven't been too honest with us this past week.
It's been a great week for the ownership of the Red Sox, don't you think?
Well, it was just like they come out yesterday, and they give us a half hour of time. They had to get it out of the way. The whole Mookie trade and why they had to do it. And Brian Murphy producing the show. I think we actually have a little bit of sound from Sam Kennedy talking about how it wasn't just a salary relief deal and just lying right to our face.
Yeah, well, it's understandable that people could view this transaction as a way to rid yourself of some salary obligations that goes along with it. But as John mentioned, it was a determination that we needed to make as we went into the conversations with Mookie and his representatives. We had a hard decision to make, and we decided that it was in the best interest of the baseball operation to go forward with this transaction to get substantial value back in exchange for two great players. And there is an economic system that we all operate under, and there are clearly certain advantages by resetting and getting under. But we've tried to be clear that this was not exclusively about the CBT and getting under that CBT threshold. There would have been other ways to have done that. You don't trade Mookie Betts to get under the CBT. We traded Mookie Betts and David Price and got back significant value in return. And as John said, we know it's painful. We know it hurts. We're baseball fans first and foremost, and we understand that there's disappointment, there's anger, and now it's our job to continue to do what we've done for the last 19 years here, and that's make every effort to win a World Series championship. We want our fifth championship. We're hungry for it, and this is the group that has been together for 2 decades working towards that goal each and every year.
Yeah, so, and I mean, there you have it right there. It's like so many things stuck out, and I wanted to stop that a couple times almost just because it's like they say they get an excellent return. An excellent return. We haven't even made sure that these guys can play, that they're not healthy. Do we even know who's coming back? Oh, wait, it's a 23-year-old who's got a back injury, who's probably not going to be playing for week 1.
Let's not forget that they tried to make the trade the week before, too, for someone that is a relief pitcher that they thought was a starting pitcher. Like, you have to do a physical before you get traded, and they didn't know that he had a fractured back. How do you not know that?
Especially when it's a player like Mookie Betts, and they almost talk about it right there. You don't trade a player like Mookie Betts without getting a great return. Exactly. They didn't get a great return. And we don't even know who these guys are. maybe they got a good guy or two. It sounds like they got a decent arm in that. I don't know much about that prospect, Jeter Downs.
Yeah, you would think he was like number 42 on the MLB prospect list. He's like a second baseman. I don't know. We're talking about trading the franchise here for a guy I've never heard of.
Yeah, and we're talking about the best five-tool player the Red Sox have had since Yaz, and you just traded him away for, it was something where they sit there and they tell you that if this was just a salary dump, then there were other ways to do it. And I'd actually heard if they didn't sign J.D. Martinez and they were able to trade Jackie Bradley Jr., just a couple moves like that, they pretty much would have cleared up the same salary space as they did with, they're currently paying, half of David Price's contract?
Yep. They're also paying, I saw it today, that 25% of their salary this year is for players that aren't even on the Red Sox roster. So they're paying for other players to play on other teams. And this ownership's been doing this back till when we were paying Julio Lugo's contract, Edgar Renteria. We would just trade them away, but we'd still have to pay all their contracts.
Yeah, and this is something where the Red Sox can't even make a clear evaluation on their own players. It was like, with Chris Sale the past couple of years, he's been someone who hasn't been able to get through the regular season. Sure, he made the All-Star game a couple times, but he just wasn't able to weather an entire season. And he goes through 2 seasons in which he breaks down, doesn't make it all the way through. What do? Oh, we got to extend. They don't even wait until this guy hits the free agency market. Then they have their best player, Mookie Betts, where, it's we got to get a return. We got to get a return. We can't just let this guy hit the free agency market. And what is the return that they actually got? A second baseman who, like you said, it doesn't seem like anybody is too concerned with.
No, and Alex Verdugo, if you look at it, when you look at his stats and everything, he's another Andrew Benintendi. There's nothing wrong with Andrew Benintendi, but Andrew Benintendi is not going to win you a World Series. He's a good player. I don't know if he'll ever be an all-star. And this guy also has a ton of, obviously, issues with the sexual harassment case he had back when he was on the Dodgers. It's just mind-boggling the way that this franchise operates. It's when things go bad, John Henry has to step in. He just makes things so much worse.
Yeah, and John Henry sitting up there, they asked him a question, is this a baseball move or financial move? He answered in a second, baseball move. And how do you say that this is a baseball move?
If you listen to that clip, I lost. It's like you're talking to Red Sox fans that care about the players, and they're going over the financials and all this stuff, and I don't even know what the term they were using, but it's like way over people's heads. It's okay. This is a financial decision. This is not a baseball move. You had a short window with this team, and you screwed it up by giving early contracts to Chris Sale. He's going to be a closer in 2 years, making $30 million a year. Evaldi didn't even pitch last year.
Yeah, they didn't want to pay $20 million to a reliever, and now they're pretty much paying $20 million to Evaldi, who they tried him out at reliever. And
he's a good reliever.
Chris Sale, oh yeah.
He's a great reliever.
That's exactly what we said. We wanted to be paying $20 million for a closer. That's why they wouldn't get a guy like the guy we had knocking down the World Series a couple of years ago, because we wouldn't pay $20 million for a closer. Then they get a guy in here like Evaldi, and they're putting him to close games out. And
it's because he can't pitch. He can't pitch more than 3 innings.
Oh God,
it's a good contract though.
It's just all the way through every year. This is a team where they sit back there, and Sam Kennedy talks about how they brought us 4 championships in 15 years or whatever the stat is. And with a lot of other teams, you'd be great if the Celtics had brought that same return. Yep. Everybody would be jumping up and down. But it's the fact that it's come with such chaos, and it's come with you change the strategy every single year. Mm-hmm. It's one year you're pointing at the Yankees for being spenders. This year you're spending 25% of your roster is on guys that aren't even on the team. And this goes back to when they were making decisions, still paying Hanley, still paying, who was the right fielder that they got from Cuba?
Cespedes.
Right. No, not Cespedes.
Rusney Castillo.
Rusney Castillo. They were paying him forever. And it's like, this has just been something where the Red Sox, they won't extend themselves on the right guy. Yep. They never extend themselves on the right guy. And we got one ringing through here. And hi, you're live on Open Season. Who do we got?
Hey, you got Patrick here. First time, long time.
Hey, Patrick. How's it going?
Good, thanks. question is, with all the moves that the Red Sox management have made, do you now put them as the bottom 4 of Boston's main sports teams? So I think they've really lost the fan base, and now I'd honestly rather watch any of the other 3 major sports over the Red Sox, which is a massive change from previous years. What do you guys think?
I'm getting close to putting the Revolution on over the Red Sox. I think they might be hitting 5 pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, Patrick. I mean, it's a very tough product to watch. They keep going against, and they keep getting rid of fan favorites like Mookie Betts. They're asking us to watch a product that is 4 hours long, and, it just really doesn't seem to fit in. And with the management kind of changing their style every year, it's not really something you can get used to. I mean, it's like if they're going to get rid of guys like Mookie Betts, when you draft somebody, you hope that they can turn into a Mookie Betts, And so many teams out there are probably saying we're a Mookie Betts away. And, to just give up a guy like that for no return, it's tough to buy into the organization when they make moves like that. So I agree. I think they've put themselves at the bottom. They're a tough product to watch, and they just don't do anything in the way that they lead to make you want to listen and watch them more.
Yeah, most franchises, you have the best player, an elite player, an MVP caliber player. You make it work. You get rid of you if you're going to cut salary. It's not him that you're giving away. You cut salary on some of the relief pitchers or some like a second baseman that doesn't mean anything. You don't trade away Mookie Betts and get back nothing.
Yeah, you don't say that we've got, a guy that's got a hurt back and then a guy that may be a decent second baseman when you're trading away the best. See, the thing for me, Patrick, too, is just some of the return that they got with this. It's like when they traded who was the third baseman who ended up anyway, when you trade any of these guys, you should hope you should get some prospects, restart the farm. And they weren't able to do that. You've got all these kind of broken pieces. So it's like, even if they want to try to sell us on that, I feel like they could have made a much better return. What do you feel?
No, I completely agree with you guys. And like you said, every team dreams of having an up-and-coming star like Mookie Betts, homegrown in the system. And you would argue that you would trade every other player on the team minus him. He's your superstar. He's your draw. But I'll flip it back to you guys. If he comes back and re-signs after this year, do you forgive the ownership?
I don't think it's going to happen. They tried to do that with John Lester, and he told them to go screw. He went to the Cubs.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty pie in the sky. That so many times they talk about that maybe happening. I feel like once you move on, it's pretty rare. But I guess if he did come back from a manageable number, I think you would have to forgive them. But, I mean, if he comes back for 10 years, $300 million or something like that, they're saying that the number that he turned down from the Sox was a 10-year, $420 million deal. And I feel like, if that's truly the number, then they couldn't have done that. I think that's overextending. But did they have to do it this quickly and be able to get this return that you can't even talk about? I think that's just terrible.
I'd rather just have him play out the year and not get the return that we got back. And, risk maybe he doesn't have that great of a year and his price goes down, rather than just getting some guys that never heard of before.
Exactly, because everybody says this. It's like, we can't lose him, we can't get nothing for him. And for me, you're getting one more year of MVP performance. You put it on top of a team that's pretty close to being able to make a run, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense on why they get rid of him. So I totally agree with you that I think they should pretty much trade everybody minus maybe Xander Bogaerts or Devers. But aside from those guys, you don't trade a guy like Mookie Betts unless you're the Boston Red Sox.
And my other issue is that now we don't have a fifth starting pitcher, and we're paying half the price of salary anyway. I know they're trying to claim it was a salary dump. It's like, keep him and Mookie for one more year, go all in at least. But disappointing. Love your work, though. I'm going to hang up now.
Hey, appreciate you calling. But, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I would, like you said, I'd rather have Mookie Betts go to the mat and say, okay, let's see that $420 million offer. Is anybody actually going to pay him that? I think that is a number that nobody's going to pay.
Mike Trout makes that much money, and Mike Trout's much better than Mookie. Mike Trout's best player since Mickey Mantle's, and he's not getting that. What's crazy, it's transpired this week too, or more so today, is this Will Myers stuff, that trade rumors that are coming about. So we're trying to dump salaries. Now we're trying to get Will Myers, and the Padres are trying to get rid of him to dump salaries. So we're going to take his contract on. It's $60 million for 3 years, and we're going to have to pay half of that. So what are we doing here? Are we trying to? Is this a baseball decision? No, because he's not very good.
And is this just a decision to just go all in? So I don't even get why they would do this trade now, because they needed to do a salary dump. They've dumped the salary. Why are they taking on a 29-year-old who hasn't produced in 3 years?
Well, I guess the Padres, if it goes through, they'd give us some of their elite prospects. I mean, Dave Dombrowski just flooded our we have no good prospects, and that's the problem. We have no. But the thing is, Mookie Betts.
Would you take Dombrowski back right now?
Absolutely not. He screwed us over. His decisions were so easy. Sign David Price, trade Yohan Moncada for Chris Sale. It's like his trades were the
sign
easiest.
These guys to the most money possible.
He
David
traded one of
Price.
our best prospects for Craig Kimball. Like, he destroyed our farm system, and then he signed all of these guys, and then he left.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think he pretty much did, connect the dots on what he had to do here. It was like everything was kind of laid out. Sign the player for the most amount of money. Signing Price and signing Sale were like the easiest moves you have to make. It's like sign the highest price. And that was the thing about Price, too, is like he couldn't even come in for 1 year and show that he could be in it. They had to jump on top of Chris Sale, before he could even. So
I mean, I'm not going to miss David Price. He in the postseason, he had a great run, and he showed up. But all the interviews, and you come to Boston, you're getting paid that much money. Their expectations are high, and if you're not going to perform well, you're going to get asked questions, and there's going to be talk. Shouldn't have come here. Should have gone to the Cardinals where you were supposed to go. You decided to take the extra $20 million here, and then you weren't very happy.
Yeah, and I think the thing that sucks is that he's going to go out. He's going to play for a good team. He's probably win
the Cy Young.
He's probably gonna. I can totally see him having a year where he just goes completely off. Goes out there and throws like a 3 ERA for them.
But you never know. The first year the core is the manager here is his first good year. So were we cheating that year too?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Maybe they were banging on some
likely.
things. Yeah.
Well, hey, if Jose Altuve wasn't cheating, then no one was. I mean, that's just so ridiculous that they say that they weren't able to find. So that's another thing, just with this whole investigation, and we've got another one here on the line. Hi, you're live with Open Season. Who do we got?
Yo, Whitey from Queens.
Whitey. What's up, man?
What's good, fellas?
Oh, not too much. We're just talking about how terrible of a product the Red Sox baseball operation is. Kind of talking about the overall cheating.
I couldn't
in
tell you
baseball
how
too.
how amazing it is to listen to angry Red Sox fans complain about ownership.
Yeah. No. What?
Oof.
Whitey, I was going to bring up, and I didn't when the last caller was on, but the Yankees did it right 3 years ago. They had a rebuilding year, and they got all these great prospects, and they traded things away. They traded Chapman away, got him back. And now look at their team. They have Judge, Sanchez, I forget the second baseman's last name, but
Gregorius?
Yeah, I don't know. Gregorius is gone, but who's the
Gleyber?
Yeah, Gleyber.
Torres.
He's like 22, 23, and you guys are going to be like a dynasty.
He's an absolute stud, dude. Gleyber is probably the best second baseman in the league, and he's 23. It's absurd.
Yeah,
It's so amazing.
But you guys have all the money in the world, obviously, which we do too. We just pretend like we don't, and then you guys have a farm system. It's unbelievable, and you're going to dominate for years. The Red Sox can't tell their fans that we're rebuilding. They just say, no, we're going to be good this year. But then every year we're good, then we're bad. We're good, then we're bad. Stick with the strategy like the Yankees do.
Yeah, I mean, you guys did win
How
two
about
World
that?
Series
A compliment
in
to welcome you on the air. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm shocked to hear a compliment. I mean, I do agree though. The Yankees basically kicked the curb on 1 year, and basically rebuild without rebuilding. And in 2007, that year, nothing was expected of us that year, because basically everyone knows Aaron Judge is basically in his first year. Gary Sanchez I think he was in his first year. And, we pretty much could have made the World Series if we didn't have to face the Astros who cheated against us, So,
Yeah, Whitey.
Yeah, that is.
Whitey, do you kind of take the same side as Nick Markakis with every Astro needs a beating? What's your thought about that, especially as you guys were the ones that, Judge was kind of talking about how you got taken away a championship from you. How do you feel about, what Rob Manfred said about everybody and, how you kind of can't go against the Astros? That's got everybody a bit hot.
Yeah, I mean, what's ridiculous is people are going to start, beaning Astros players, and those players are going to get suspended. Meanwhile, the players that cheated are not going to get suspended. Like, how ironic is that? And it's like,
there's a bet. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, I do think they deserve to get, hit a couple times. But at the same time, each time you drill an Astros player, they get on base. So you also don't want to give up win. You also don't want to give Astros wins. You know what I mean? So I think it's up to the judgment of the pitcher in whatever situation he's in. In not highly leveraged situations. Yeah. Drill Altuve. And I do think it's going to happen, but it's also going to be ridiculous if pitchers get suspended for beating Astros players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so too. The Vegas has the over/under at 83.5 beatings, if you will. Are you an over or are you an under on that? Do you think the MLB is going to over-police this, or you think you think teams will be having their way with smashing Altuve?
I think it's going to be under, actually, because I think this is going to be kind of under the microscope. Players are not going to want to get suspended and lose game checks. I think they're going to. I think players are going to realize just show them disrespect. Don't shake their hand, after a game. Just let them kind of stew in guilt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a microscope, and pitchers are not going to want to get suspended for drilling these players. I think they're going to get beaned a few times, and I think that's acceptable. But I mean, pitchers bean batters in an ordinary course of business anyway, right?
I think they should have a proposal this year. Every series, one pitcher on the opposing team is allowed to hit one Astro without being suspended. and it should be Altuve, Correa, or Bregman. One of them.
The Astros amendment.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to give that because they gave Manfred gave them immunity. The only way he could find out everything is that the Astros told them what happened.
I still don't get immunity, the concept of it.
So
it's
the Astros
you just get to say, okay, I was the biggest cheater, but since I'm going to tell you that I was the biggest cheater.
Exactly. So I'm not going to tell you anything. Well, I'll give you immunity. Okay. Oh, now I'll tell you everything now.
Okay, I was a criminal.
And then I'm going to go to the media and say that we did nothing wrong, but I told you to your face that we did everything wrong.
It's so dumb.
They're basically rats. They're rats that have been arrested. You know how when you arrest a small-time drug dealer? Just,
Kinda.
We're not going to arrest you as long as you give up whoever sold you the drugs. That's kind of how they approach this. All right, you guys are clear. You're not going to get penalized. So be honest. So that's basically the way they're doing it.
It's so ridiculous, though. It's okay,
it is ridiculous
so if you
because they were just as.
Yeah.
This is not giving up Pablo Escobar. The players are pretty much more complicit in this as the higher ups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Because obviously you're a Giant. You're a Steelers fan, but you don't like the Patriots. Yeah. And some of the cheating scandals that have gone on. How does this compare to some of the Pats ones? Because I don't even think there weren't even any facts really when it came to the Patriots ones, like Deflategate. It was all made up. This is out in the open, and everyone can see it.
Yeah, I think this is far more egregious and far more impactful on the game than the Patriots. I mean, Deflategate, give me a break. Okay, so Brady can throw the ball slightly better. I mean, you're talking about a batter who knows what pitch is coming. That's absurd. That's basically that's the defense having 100% certainty what play the offense is going to run. You can decode signals and all that, but it's just not the same.
That's why I think it's so egregious, because this is the biggest violation that we've ever seen, and then they just give these guys immunity because they told about it. It's I don't get how Altuve is off the hook and how some of these other guys, they're not going to punish these guys at all. And Altuve had a year where he was like an MVP. He hit like 350.
He took it away from Judge.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He took it away from Judge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I heard Judge.
That's why I'm peeved. Like, it's not enough that they eliminated us in Game 7 on their turf when they were, obviously cheating. But, like, and then they robbed Judge of an MVP. Like, so this is why, like, as a Yankee fan, I'm so, like, devastated. But also, it's just the fact, like, if you look at the outrage over the Patriots, when it comes to the Deflategate, when they were, like, recording other when they were recording practices, I forgot what the expression was for
Yeah,
that.
they were recording the walkthroughs of the Rams or whatever.
Yeah, like, there was not really an outrage among the rest of the league,
That's
right?
because
Like,
everyone else was doing it.
No one really lost it. I mean, in this situation, you have the MLB's biggest stars coming out and just ripping the Astros. Cody Bellinger was the MVP last year.
Yep.
Mike Trout was also the MVP. Mike Trout released a statement saying he's, like, he hates what they did.
And Mike Trout never talks. Aaron Judge, these guys usually don't talk, and you've got all the biggest stars talking.
They don't say anything, dude. Mike Trout does not say a word. Like, that's like his biggest like criticism is that Mike Trout doesn't like market himself.
So I
like
think
he doesn't say a word, but then now he's like fully like forthright in like his opinion on this matter. So it's just like that just gives you like an idea of how much bigger of a scandal this is than pretty much any other cheating scandal in the history of sports.
I think it's why everyone's pissed off is because when it's a Patriots cheating scandal, the NFL, like the other owners, like, you have to do something about it. We'll get draft picks taken away. The Astros are not getting punished whatsoever for this. There's no draft picks. There's no suspensions. The manager got fired. That's it. And the GM.
And then how about this? Manfred comes out and says they've done their punishment.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that you're looking at them cross-eyed, it's like we're looking at them cross-eyed because you didn't punish them.
If this was the Patriots, Belichick probably have to get fired, like, because they would want blood. This is like, it's okay. Because the MLB knew about it for years. They knew about it before it came out, and they tried to hide it. And now it's out, and they're screwed.
Whitey, who's going to get punished first, the Red Sox or the Patriots?
Well, I do want to comment real quick, though. I think the Astros did get, like, their first-round draft picks taken away. But still, even then, like, their punishment was nothing, man. Like, I think at a minimum, you either strip them of their title or you bar them from the postseason. Like, look what happens with college, man. Like Louisville, like, they were not allowed to enter the tournament for, like, 3 years for, like, a simple, like, bribery thing, which all the colleges did. The fact that the Astros can still compete in the World Series this year and not have their World Series in 2017 taken away, that is absurd. I would actually prefer that than individual players getting suspended, right?
Is Rob Manfred the worst commissioner in sports?
Oof. I mean, who's the judge? Basically, like, judging a commissioner depends on how much money he generates for the owners, right?
Yep.
So I think all the owners are outraged over this, but you know what? The owners are going to make more money next year because now they have a villain.
People actually care about baseball now.
When do people talk about baseball in February, right?
People were talking about the baseball over anything All-Star related. I mean, they've definitely been in the eye where you never talk about the MLB like this, at least over the past few years.
Yeah, so I think the owners are going to, like, publicly, like, denounce Manfred. Like, oh, I'm outraged. But secretly, they're going to be like, okay, now when the Astros come to my stadium, ticket prices are going to go up because people are going to come to see, the reaction against the Astros. So I think secretly the owners are actually happy about this.
Honestly, I kind of agree with you. I think that there's going to be a lot more eyes on baseball this year as a result of this because everybody wants to see how everybody's going to handle the Astros.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I don't think
the only owners that really have a legit beef is, the Steinbrenners and the Dodgers ownership because they legitimately got just, like, they had their chance of a World Series taken away. But all the other owners, I think, are secretly, like, enjoying this.
Yeah. Well, hey, Whitey, we appreciate you calling in long distance from Queens tonight. I know you're at work, so we'll let you get back at it, my friend. We appreciate you going back and forth with us here.
Fellas.
All right.
Take care.
Take care. So, yeah, I mean, like we said it. I mean, do you agree with that? You think there's going to be a little bit more juice behind baseball this year because of all this I mean, as sad as it is.
I don't know. I think that the Astros, I wouldn't be surprised if they did not make the playoffs this year. I don't think, like, what the Patriots do better than anybody is block out the noise. The Astros are bringing the noise in, and I'm telling you, they're going to crumble. They don't have, like, strong like, leadership in that locker room.
If they would just say that something went on, they just all sit there as if nothing ever happened. No one's going to take accountability for it.
Like, would you ever see a Patriots player bringing a reporter aside like Carlos Correa did the other day and verbally abuse another player on another team? Belichick would cut him the next day. That's why I'm saying I would not be surprised. They had the talent, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't make it. And that would be the best thing possibly for baseball.
That would be great. Imagine if all this pitching kind of falls off, all these...
I mean, they lost Garrett Cole, too.
I would love to see Altuve come in with, like, a 275. Imagine if it was just, like, so far off. I mean, obviously, I don't think it helps that... I mean, I think it helps, obviously, but to take it from, like, a 275 to a 350 average, I don't think it's going to help that much, but I think it would be amazing if someone like Altuve dropped way off to something like 280 or something.
Yeah, and the other thing, too... I think we said it last week. These players that are cheating came into the league, maybe not Altuve, but like Bregman, Carrera. Like, these players were like number one picks. They're supposed to be great, and they need to and they're still cheating. Like, they would probably have somewhat similar numbers if they weren't cheating.
Yeah,
that's what's crazy about all of it. We're not talking about some scrubs like Jackie Bradley all of a sudden hitting 400. We're talking about elite players and they're cheating. It's just mind-boggling, and MLB has just handled this terribly.
Yeah, they really have. And, you know, it's pretty surprising. It's amazing to me that there has not been punishment that has gone down, you know, really from, you know, for the Astros, really, or for the Red Sox. I mean, it's like everyone's just kind of sitting quiet, and nothing's happening, and we're all just like, is this really going on?
Yeah, the whole Red Sox thing is crazy, too, because Cora got fired.
And they didn't say anything forever.
Exactly.
They almost went to spring training without a manager.
Exactly, and for a while you thought he was going to come back. You're like, oh, maybe we didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a mess.
And now it seems like that he may still be in their long-term plans.
Yeah, this guy's like a short-term manager, and they're going to bring him back next year.
So that's the type of guy we want. Alex Cora, cheater extraordinaire.
Hey, no wonder why he was smarter than everybody else.
Yeah. Well, hey, did you see the NBA All-Star Game at all?
I watched a little bit of it. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think they may be onto something here. It's pretty tough for me to watch an All-Star Game. I got to admit, these days, you know, whether it's the Pro Bowl, whether it's the MLB, I think the MLB game still probably does it the best. But I think it was a pretty good, you know, to see guys in the NBA trying hard in the fourth quarter. I kind of had to, like, pinch myself and say, where am I? And when I was looking at the talent on the floor, I mean, you've got LeBron going to the rack as hard as he can, getting pinned to the backboard by Giannis. I think some of those plays, you know, where you've just got the absolute elite making these plays, I can't remember an All-Star game where it wasn't just, you know, doopsie, ditsy-doo and alley-oops and all these types of things. And the fourth quarter was, like, lockdown, stock and barrel, guys making shots, rebounding, stealing, and you know, I think it all had to do with the fact that they put it as like a fixed point total. So it was like each quarter they would score, and then they would take the numbers off. So it was like the West waxed them in the first quarter, then the East waxed them in the second quarter, but then all the scores come off, and you know, they just kept playing, and then when that fixed number was at the end, it's kind of like bringing it back to the playground where you're playing to like 11 or something. You know that if you can stop the other team from scoring, you know, you still got a chance. So it was pretty interesting to see them playing at full effort. And, you know, I think they put on a pretty good tribute for Kobe Bryant. So
yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I agree. It was like very competitive. You could see, you know, there was more defense played in that game than there are in most regular season games.
Exactly.
But I wonder if they keep that. Like, I feel like they all got together before and like Kobe would have wanted us to play like this, and they all took that up, but I don't know if they'll do that next year.
No, I do agree with that. I do think that there is something in the dedication of Kobe where they probably all to see them do that again. It's hard for me to think that they'll do that again. And for the game, it was thought out so well. For it to end on a free throw, that kind of sucked.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw
that's basketball for you.
Yeah, but maybe something like winning by 2 or, getting back to that playground style where you can't just win on a free throw. But it was just pretty interesting. You saw guys, and I think we have a clip from Chris Broussard. You can just hear it. He's a guy that's covered so many different games and talking about how much more entertaining the All-Star game was. Let's let a little sound from him rip.
It was a rousing success. I loved it. And I had lost all interest in the All-Star game. All-Star weekend's great. You've been there. But the All-Star game hasn't been good, in my view, since 2014. And some people would go even further back than that. But this was phenomenal, and I've been watching All-Star games, my whole life. I've never seen players in an All-Star game for the NBA compete this hard in the fourth quarter. And it got me thinking, when's the last time you've seen that much talent on the floor competing at that level? Now, I'm not saying the quality of play was higher than we see in the playoffs and in the finals and stuff like that, because of teamwork, camaraderie, all that. Those teams are better. But just sheer individual talent, this was phenomenal, and I think it was due to the new format. I like the fact that they went with the quarter stuff, where you can win each quarter.
Yeah.
And, they did it.
It's old CBA style, right? In the CBA, which before the G League, back before it was the D League, and it was the CBA, you used to get points on your standings for winning a quarter.
For winning a quarter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, I don't want to get into whether or not they should look at doing this in the regular season. I mean, we could talk about that another time. But I liked it because if you're getting blown out, you got new life every quarter.
Right.
And there you have it, them just kind of talking about some of the changes. It kind of got me thinking about the XFL and some of the changes that they've been making, and some of the changes that you can make kind of like in these all-star games. I think a few years ago in football, they started doing it kind of like with the kicks and trying some of the different things with the kicks. The XFL has some pretty interesting rules with their punt and kick returns where – I don't know if you've watched where you have to stay still kind of before you can catch it, but punt and kick returns have been further than NFL ones have been. They've been a more exciting NFL play, or more exciting play in the XFL. And I think the fact that you can go for 1, 2, and 3 points, I think this is a pretty cool situation where we're in where, they're trying out all these different things. I don't know how well the XFL is going to do, but I think that the NFL might adopt a bunch of these things to try to make it a little bit easier to watch.
I think the only thing the XFL is missing is one guy that I know Tim Tebow was talking about getting in. He's not great, but that would drive market. People would watch that.
If Tebow was in,
you need a not even a star, but just a well-known former player to get in the league and have a couple good games, and the ratings will go through the roof.
Yeah, because I think they are working on a lot of good things there. They only have the 1 foot in bounds. And just with the way that things have gotten so complicated in the NFL, I think we almost might be headed towards a 1 foot in bounds or something for a catch because it seems impossible to know what is a catch and what isn't a catch. I know Brian and I always talk about it, but if that Calvin Johnson catch is not a catch, then it's pretty tough to know what is a catch.
Even the Dez Bryant catch. I don't know how that wasn't a catch.
Exactly. So I think it is pretty cool that the XFL is starting to experiment. I like the fact that you can go for 1, 2, or 3. I don't really understand why you'd ever go for 1. I mean, I feel like I'd go for 2 every time pretty much. It's 2 yards.
I like how you can hear what the coaches are saying. And the NFL will never do that, obviously, because that's you're breaking so many rules. And Belichick, he would go nuts. You could do that. But it's cool to listen and hear what they're saying to the quarterback. It's interesting because you never hear that stuff.
Yeah, and it's cool how they interview them right after a play. The guy will be marching down the sideline, and then they get a microphone in his face. How was that drive? Oh yeah, we just have to keep trying, plugging along.
Well, I mean, these guys, this is all they have, right? It's their one chance, or to somehow make it to the NFL. They need as much marketing and exposure to themselves. They'll do any interview.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. But, yeah, I think it is pretty cool, the XFL. I don't think the play has been that great. I mean, it seems to be a lot slower. Like, I turn these games on. If you turn a game on at half, it feels like it's always like 6-3.
Well, I also feel like these teams are adopting like a whole new offenses. Like everybody's new, and they're trying to figure it out. Every team is new, so it's maybe next year it'll be higher scoring games.
That's true.
Because you have a quarterback that's trying to learn an offense, and everybody else is trying to learn it too at the same time.
Yeah, and they played a clip of Matt McGloin like kind of airing everyone out this weekend. That was pretty cool. Like to your point, to have it basically in his face, airing the entire team out, and then the best part was after that he started the second half on the bench.
Yep.
So it was great. You get to hear they're like, all right, well, not after that one. You're coming out. So I don't know. It's just been interesting. I don't know. How long do you think? So the XFL was a huge failure the first time. Do you think that this model can last a couple of years?
I mean, the ratings this past weekend were through the roof. People are watching it. So
it seems like there is so much appetite for football. It seems like the bubble can never be burst for football.
I just feel like if the ratings keep going up, maybe they will draw some of those players, retired guys, to come back in and play. Like if the ratings keep going up, they're like, oh, well, this could be, I'm doing really nothing else. I'll go do this. And then if they get those players, you never know. It could become something. Yeah. Because the play on the field, it's not great. Because we're really watching like Division II college, or like ex-Division I college football players don't really do much. Never made it to the pros. It's
Cardale Jones and Landry Jones.
No, who's Josh Johnson?
Josh Johnson. Cardale Jones, they had the funniest stat up the other day. They're like, he's 13-0 since high school. Because, you don't even know.
Was 1 year in Ohio State?
Because he was like 11-0 there, and then he's been like 2-0 in the XFL.
Was he?
They don't even know what to call the XFL. They're like, he's just 13-0.
Was he the guy at Charles Park got the tattoos and like in college, and they got in trouble for it?
I'm pretty sure.
Or maybe no, that might have been like Maurice Claret. That might have been earlier than him.
Yeah, it could have been earlier than him.
They always draft really good guys at Ohio State.
Yeah. It's a when half your team runs off to get tattoos.
Well, I mean, the head coach did a great job in Ohio State. He did a good job at Florida too with Aaron Hernandez. So he's a really good guy.
Urban Meyer. He only coaches good guys.
Yep, he's a holy man.
So I think that brings us to a little bit of NBA talk where there was a pretty big announcement in the Boston Garden the other day before the All-Star break, and Kevin Garnett is going to have his number 5 retired. What are your initial thoughts on that?
I'm pumped for it. I mean, I assume he was always going to get it. And people will say he didn't play here long enough. The impact he made for the time he was here, he changed the franchise around.
And we've got one ringing through here. Hi, you're live on Open Season. Who do we got?
Hey, guys, Matt here.
Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Not bad. I'm having kind of a hard time hearing you.
We can hear you, Matt.
All right, perfect. Hey, so I want to throw something at you guys. I don't know if you have been active on Twitter in the past couple of hours, but LeBron James is talking about the whole Houston Astros situation. Something I kind of like about baseball is, for the most part, those baseball players keep to themselves and they don't stick their noses in other sports business. But I feel like LeBron kind of has this green light to do whatever he wants. Do you think his publicist kind of advised him that it was okay to make these kinds of comments? Or do you think he did it off of his own inclinations? Or what's the story here, man? What are your thoughts? I've been reading some of the comments, and, everyone's kind of split on the matter.
So, I'm not sorry to cut you off, Matt, but I'm, and Billy knows this, I do not like LeBron James whatsoever for many different reasons. But I do think what he did is a good thing, because he's the one athlete in all of sports, and maybe Tom Brady is probably the other one. That message will move the needle in the right direction. Like, if LeBron James is making the MLB look bad, that's not a good look for Manfred. And people might be saying you might need to do something about this, because it's not just within baseball anymore. It's getting to a much larger level. So I agreed with what he did.
Yeah, and Matt, I mean, I think that, I think you probably have a good point with, I feel like Rich Paul and him kind of own the NBA. I wouldn't be surprised if Rich Paul told him to reach out in some type of, it seems like,
he probably wrote it for him because he doesn't.
It seems like they always kind of meet. Yeah.
He doesn't.
Yeah, well, LeBron,
LeBron knows everything. He knows politics. He's a really smart guy.
We don't know how
I know.
legitimate
that's
that
probably
high school.
Just what irks me the most is I feel like, the guy should be a columnist or, commentator for CNN. It's like the LeBron James network, lifestyle, politics, cooking.
It's like the Oprah network.
Everything.
It feels like LeBron is a big people. He tries to be a big people pleaser sometimes, doesn't he? Where he's kind of reaching out outside of his sport, tapping on baseball. But I feel like LeBron kind of wants to be loved. I mean, I feel like there's kind of no looking around that. And I think, he's reaching out, trying to do what he thinks is the right thing. But I definitely see how, with what you're saying, talking about somebody else's league, it's kind of tough to do that. But I agree with Justin, for him to put a little bit of light on it as another sport. There's a lot of people in baseball that are trying to put some light on it, but I think it only helps. I don't think that Manfred's being held accountable at all. So I think, if LeBron's going to hold him accountable, if it comes down to LeBron has to hold him accountable, and that's how far we've sunk, it seems like that's what we're dealing with right now.
Because, any message that LeBron James has, that does, everybody's watching. Whereas maybe some shortstop on the Blue Jays comments on it and no one is watching. But if LeBron James is talking about it, everybody is watching. Not just sports. We're talking like politics. Everybody will look at that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nobody knows who the players are that the Red Sox got back in this trade, but we all know that LeBron tweeted about the MLB.
Exactly.
I agree. I just wish I just wish someone more likable would be the one kind of getting the fire going under this. I feel like a lot of people that don't like the guy.
Is there someone who comes to mind, Matt? Like that?
What's that?
Is there someone that comes to mind that you'd like to see address it? One of your favorite athletes, or someone that you think, who would you want to see it come from?
Conor McGregor.
Yep, he'll bring his bottle of whiskey with him on the message.
I think the world would take it very seriously.
Yeah, he's another angel. No, it's kind of like I remember this year it was a Thursday night game and Brady tweeted out, "I can't watch this anymore. These refs is terrible. The refs are awful this game."
Yes.
And they got talked about by everybody. And then the refs had to have a meeting about it. It's like when you are a player of that stature makes that type of message, everybody is watching and they have to do something about it because it's a terrible look on them. So if more and more athletes from other sports are talking about it, it's nothing but negativity for them.
It's just amazing that Rob Manfred hasn't been held accountable and that, these punishments are not happening to the players. It's just like, the way that they're choosing to go about this, not coming down on anything with the Red Sox, it just really feels like he's not doing his job. I don't know what you think, Matt.
Yeah, I feel like there's accountability that can go around for everybody. I feel like it's kind of this culture of CYA and, no one kind of pushes issues in certain matters just because, if you push, issues over here, that means you're going to get some heat in return. So it's almost like I scratch your back, you scratch mine in the sense of, you don't point the finger at me, I don't point the finger at you, and we can move on from this kind of stuff. That's kind of the impression I get.
It's like with any sport. Oh, sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, I was kind of thinking about something that Billy asked as far as an athlete goes that could bring light to this. I feel like all the ones that I would like to see, they're probably keeping their mouth shut and they've been advised to, you know what I mean? Because of the phenomenon we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's a tough thing in this society to be the guy that talks because you don't know if somebody's going to pin it to Twitter and if you're going to lose a job over it, right? So there's a lot of people. If I was running an athlete, if I was somebody's, representative, I'd definitely be making sure that they keep their mouths shut on a lot of items as well. But I think this is a little bit different where, you know, if nobody's going to bring light to it, it's going to kind of take other sports to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and LeBron, to your point, Billy, he's kind of like, you know, he's kind of like as powerful as MJ. Well, maybe not as powerful as MJ was back when, or Michael Jackson was back in the old music days. But he does have a substantial amount of clout, and you know he could probably get away with, you know, saying worse than the tweets that everyone's kind of getting all bent out of shape about.
I mean, I feel like the only other athlete that's as big as him is probably Tiger Woods. Like if Tiger Woods said something about this would, or Brady. Like those are the three really in like all of sports.
Yeah, imagine that if Tiger spoke up about something, everybody would drop what they were doing.
He's too smart, though. When they ask Tiger questions about anything, he just gives them the great answer and walks away.
Well, hey, Matt, anything else from you? Or?
No, I think you guys only have about 5 to 10 minutes left, but I was going to throw something else out there about Trump pardoning the old 49ers coach. See if you guys have any thoughts on that. I think it's pretty sweet, but don't know if you guys want to. That may be a half-hour long conversation. If you guys only have 10 minutes, we may want to table that for next week.
That's a usually when it comes to Trump, a 3-hour convo. We only got 8 minutes left, but I agree. It is a good thing, but no, Matt, really appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Matt. Have a good one.
You too, guys. Take care.
All right.
Yeah, so, I mean...
we were talking before about KG going on the rafters, and he's my favorite Celtic of like all time. He used to be Pierce, but then KG was everything.
Yeah. I think some people kind of get bent out of shape out of just like how many numbers the Celtics are going to retire, but when I saw Pierce going up there and you saw the blank number being next to him, you knew the number 5 was going to go there, and you knew that just the way that the Celtics do things, like if you want to start picking, you know, if you look at it, you've got guys like Cedric Maxwell in the Celtics Hall of Fame. And so I think the way that I'm honestly in favor of like the smaller halls, the smaller numbers getting retired, like less numbers getting retired than more. But the way the Celtics do things, this totally made sense. He was here 6 years, 5 All-Stars, 1 championship. And they always talk about, can you write the story of a league or whatever without mentioning this player? And I feel like you really can't mention the league and everything without the big 3 that Kevin Garnett was a part of.
They started the big 3.
Exactly.
Now every team needed a big 3.
And he was the guy that they needed to put them over the hump for so many years. You know, they traded everyone and got him, and he was the one who put him over the hump. I think what this opens up, though, is do you think Ray Allen is a Hall of Famer for the Celtics?
I think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he'll be a Hall of Famer for the Celtics. He was a good player for us, really good player, really good shooter, but the way that he left, the way that he left, and when he tells his side of the story, you kind of understand, but it could have all been resolved. And if he stayed, he might have been, maybe, because you can't have the big 3 without Ray Allen, right? So if you're putting KG and you put Ray Allen, but I just don't see it happening.
So when you look at those sides, like, how much blame do you put on like Ray Allen for the way things left? Because they started playing Avery Bradley over him, right? Wasn't that like the first straw? And I think if someone started playing Avery Bradley over me,
Danny Ainge, he went back to Danny and said, "This is the contract they're offering," and they didn't match it. I mean, they wanted Avery, and Rondo was trying to take control of the team, and they didn't get along. It just wasn't. It could have been all resolved on both sides.
Yeah,
but you know, he got. Remember that game against the Lakers when he hit how many threes he hit? Like 6 or 7 in the finals.
Yeah,
I'd never seen a shooter like that before he came here.
I never had either.
And
I mean, we never had one as a Celtic. I mean, the best shooter we had before that was Pierce.
We had Ricky Davis for a couple of years.
Ricky Davis.
Wally Zerbiak.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we had, and then Delonte West, he was good.
Delonte West, he's taking great care of his body.
Yeah.
I heard he's on the TB12 method.
It's not protein, it's cocaine.
Just getting his ass beat in the middle of streets.
Yeah.
Never thought that we would see that after.
It's kind of crazy to think about, though. So you're talking about the Raptors. The young core that's here now, if they stick around, like Tatum, Jaylen Brown, like those could be the next, because they're so young and they're so good already.
It's amazing. I feel like Tatum already has a space up there, basically. I
think he needs to do a couple more, and I think Tatum needs to sign his contract, stay for 4 or 5 years, but the team is those two for the next 10 years, potentially, if they don't leave.
I mean, I feel like they're going to do whatever they can to keep those two wings together and build around them.
Yeah.
So,
and like that's the next regime. Like once Pierce left, you're like, where are we going with this franchise? And then after 5 years of us
it
sucking,
was dark for a little bit.
Yeah. Now we have both players that are in their prime, not even in their prime yet. They're just going to get better for the next couple of years. I'm just glad Rondo never got up there.
Jason Tatum with that 39 right before the All-Star game, too. I mean, the guy is just really notched it up another level that I didn't think he was going to reach this year. I kind of thought he would reach this level next year. Like, I thought that he might average 21, 22, but it might not look like this. He's just kind of getting in that mode where it's like unconscious. And they played that game against the Clippers, and you have everybody coming off the court saying, who is the best player on that court? It was 21-year-old Jason Tatum.
Like, Kawhi Leonard was having, when he'd have the ball, they would switch up, so Tatum would have to get off of him because Tatum was dominating him on defense. And he was dominating him on offense. This is supposed to be the best. I mean, he is probably the best player all around in the league. And maybe, they didn't have Paul George that game, so let's take that into effect. So they didn't have the full team, but what Tatum did in that fourth quarter in overtime, he took over on both sides of the floor. And it was like watching Pierce back in the day.
It really was. It's almost like watching a better Pierce. It's crazy because, like, I remember when Pierce left, just thinking, like, we'd never see someone like Pierce again. And you're already seeing, I mean, he kind of scores better. He's already better
than Pierce was at his age.
Yeah, he's got a more developed offensive repertoire. And, when he gets to his spots, I mean, he's lights out.
Best thing could ever happen to him was Kemba Walker coming here because he wants Tatum to shoot. He's like, go, I want you to do this. Whereas last year, Kyrie's.
Yeah, and that's what's great about Kemba is, like, he can kind of feel when Tatum's hot and, like, keeps feeding him the ball, whereas Irving is, being the president of the Basketball Association, wearing Friends shirts, taking the season off for a shoulder injury. What were you saying to me before that? Is he out for the rest of the season?
He's out indefinitely. Right before the next Celtics game when they come.
Oh, of course.
Because he can't, I guarantee you he'll miss that game for the next 4 years.
I think he's missed the last 8 games, or 9 games, I think they said, against his former teams. Like, he just is not going to play against his former teams.
He says that people take this stuff way too serious and it's just a game. Well, if it's just a game, you're getting paid $35 million
Lace him up then.
Yeah, exactly. Come out. LeBron had to do it when he came back to Cleveland. Durant had to do it when he went to OKC. You have to do it. You made that decision. Once you do it once, it's over.
Exactly. Why does he want to sit there for 10? So he's going to wait till he has this revamped squad with Durant. You're really going to wait all these years?
Well, he doesn't even know who's on his team. He can't even name the freaking players on his team.
Well, they're all going to be requesting for a trade after a year with Kyrie.
Yeah, no, I think I'll be seeing a shrink after this year.
Yeah. My God. Kyrie. Can't believe that guy is the VP of it just shows you that position is an absolute filler position.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was the only one that went for it.
I don't picture him back there, with all the papers, really getting.
Yeah, when I think of someone as a VP, I think of like
eclectic Kyrie.
I think of someone that is there for other people, like wants to lead things that he cannot accomplish because he's too worried about if the Earth's flat or, having more scorers on his team.
Yeah, how many more players does he need on his team? I'm not quite sure. He's like, oh, yeah, we're getting back Durant, and then we need a couple other. I mean, he's listing, like, more players that they need than you can fit on a court.
That team went to the playoffs without him last year with Russell. Those players are like, we did this without you last year. And it's the same thing as when he came back the last year after the Celtics when he got hurt. We went there without you. We don't need you. And you come back and you try to run the show.
I mean, what is he going to do now? Just stay there with the...
He's just going to watch Friends on Netflix for the next couple months. Just keep it going.
Well...
Look at pictures of himself.
Well, I definitely don't doubt that. If anybody's going to be watching Friends and looking at themselves, it's going to be Kyrie Irving, the ultimate teammate. And that's going to do it for us here at Open Season. For Brian Murphy, for Justin Allain, I'm Billy Allen, and we'll see you next week.
I'm just not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. He's the most overrated player. And there you are, the Chicago Bears with a championship.